Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the UAF e-learning Teaching Tip Live today. Today we are going to be talking about planning a course in advance, and joining us today we have Skip Villa, who is with the UAF School of Education, and Heidi Olson, who also works here at UAF e-learning with me. We all have experience teaching online and face-to-face, and we'd like to have a conversation today about the importance of planning a course in advance before the semester begins, and some of the things that we can do to prepare. And to get us started, Heidi is going to set the stage. So without any further ado, Heidi, I'm going to pass to you.
Great. Thank you, Kristen, and thank you for joining this Teaching Tip Live. We at eLearning are glad to be able to provide these opportunities for conversation with faculty and to get some questions answered and have a conversation. So that's what we're all about. Especially for an online course, it's very important to kind of pre-think what you're going to do, because it's very hard to just step in and teach like you may be able to do in a face-to-face class, although of course that takes some prep time too. So there are some strategies that you can take to begin that preparation, and there are some practical things you can do, and also some things that you can do so you aren't completely overwhelmed at the beginning of the semester. And throughout the semester, so that you can have a even and a thoughtful organization to your class and strategy, and you can concentrate on the teaching instead of preparing and organizing. So Skip is an experienced online instructor, and he has a lot of strategies and a lot of expertise that he can share with us. So we asked him today to kind of share some of those things with us.
Sure. Thanks, Heidi and Kristen. I'm not exactly sure where to begin here, but I do teach. I'm now in adjunct status. I'm actually coming to you from Montana right now, where I live. I teach online only now, 2 courses per semester, but I've been teaching online for quite some time. And actually, my online teaching sort of evolved from my face-to-face teaching. And at some point, some years ago, I realized that I wanted to make my face-to-face teaching much more like my online teaching, because I've been able to develop a system and a way of approaching planning courses that has served me really well, both online and in face-to-face courses. So what you're going to see here as examples today are all online, but they are identical to the face-to-face courses that I taught up until a couple of years ago on campus there. So I'm going to do a screen share here and show you what I'm talking about kind of as I talk about it. So you should be seeing hopefully the top of my digital storytelling class. This is Ed 677. It's a graduate course. It's only taught in the spring. You can see, if you can see the title very clearly there, it says Spring 16 on it. This is the website for the course for next semester. It's done, and in fact, it's been done largely since the end of spring 15 when I finished teaching. It's a Google site. It's done with Google Sites through the UA domain, and very simple to set up. Oh, in full disclosure too, I'm not a Blackboard person. I don't use Blackboard for any element of my class except for reporting grades. All the work that my students turn in face-to-face or online is done in a portfolio-based system, either with Google Sites or with WordPress, depending on which course it is. This digital storytelling class that you're looking at here is WordPress. They use WordPress as the way they turn things in and discuss things in the course. But what you're looking at is a Google site, built very simple tools that you can build sites within the UA domain. I like being able to control the narrative more than Blackboard. I don't use it often enough to remember how to say it. Lets me do. It's too fragmented. It's difficult to find things. My students tell me that their main complaint about Blackboard is they every instructor they've ever encountered uses it differently, so they don't have an intuitive way of finding out what's where in Blackboard. So I just found it much easier to control the narrative through using a website. I can put all my resources there. I can build the narrative in the order I want to build it. I can link what I want linked up, and I can provide instructional materials in all kinds of media formats that are supported by this. But the planning part, which is I think what I'm supposed to be talking about, is really, it's actually one of the strongest points I think of using Google Sites, and I'll show you why as soon as I sign in here. I forgot to sign in. I was in some other realm there for a bit. Because what I do with my Google Sites, I make a new site for every semester for every course. There are two reasons for that. One is that I can archive the course forever. So when last year's digital storytellings of Spring 16 or Spring 15 is still intact and online. The cohort's there. All the questions that we talked about are still there. All the projects that we did are still there. If anybody wants to go back to it and remember something that happened in that format, it's there for them. I'm never going to take it down until UAF makes me take it down, or else I have too many up there. I figured the other day I have about 30 different archived courses up there at this point. And so far, no one said anything. So what I do at the beginning of every semester, if let's go back in time a year to the beginning of Spring 15, I will have already created my Spring 15 course with all the materials that I'm going to use in the semester up there. And then I simply go to this little gear icon here and go to Manage Site, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this very well, but there is a place where you can copy the site. And it copies the exact site exactly as you have it. You give it a new name, which I just didn't give the number. And then at the beginning of each semester, I basically have two sites. I have the site I'm actually using and the site I'm intending to use the next time I teach this course. And during the course of the semester, as I run into problems or things I want to add or change in the course, I can really easily change it for the next semester. And keep that process up for the entire semester. So by the end of Spring 15, my site for Spring 16 was virtually done, except for the folks at Erasmus changed their entire user interface. I had to go back and redo all of the videos for that part of it. But so that's the planning part of this process that works really well for me, the pre-planning. Online especially, there's just no option for not pre-planning your course. You have to have the materials there. If you're thinking about instructional videos or other kinds of documents online, they have to be there when the students are starting to look. And that's another advantage too, I think, is that when your course is done and you make it public, you can send students to it at any point. So if they express an interest in what's going on, well, here's the course. See if you can handle this. See if you've got the prerequisites that are going to allow you to take this course successfully. And there's one other benefit too to having this done, and that is that I get a lot of feedback from other instructors online because these are public sites. I announce them in Twitter and various different places, and so I do interact with other instructors out there in the world about these sites, and I get suggestions, and they use parts of my site, and I'm perfectly happy with that idea. So I'm going to turn this off right now and stop talking and see if there are any questions or comments, or did I go in the right direction for you guys, Heidi and Kristen? Or
Yeah. Thanks. I just wanted to say too that it's interesting having your course set ahead of time, give you the opportunity to market it with social media. You're able to actually do a little bit of your own marketing, which is really great. And I want to remind our audience too, who's watching, if you have questions and you've joined us on the Google Plus page, you can submit questions using the Q&A tool, and I'll pass those questions into the conversation. So feel free to join that conversation using the features on the page.
And I just pasted the link from that digital storytelling class into the chat window there. If anyone wants to take a look at it. And I'll do the current one from this semester for an undergraduate course too. I'll stick that one in here. That's the one that I'm currently using for Ed 431.
Okay. And we'll go back through. We can link that when this goes live on YouTube, so we'll make those links available as well.
I should mention too, if you look at the URLs that I just put in the chat window there, there's a naming convention that I use. So at 677 is ED677SP16, which Spring 16 obviously. But I tell the students, if you just change the 15 to a 16 to a 15 or a 14, you can see previously archived courses as well. So students get a pretty good idea of what's expected by looking at work that other people have turned in. That's kind of a nice advantage of this process too.
Yeah, that's really great. So we don't have any questions yet. We also have an instructor who couldn't join us today. She did a recording for us about her experience getting her course online and just getting ready for the spring 16 semester. And I can start playing that, Heidi, unless you want to interject anything before we do that.
No, this is a good time.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to listen to Wendy Martell. And she developed a Ling 101 course, Linguistics 101, and this is her first time teaching online. So she worked with us, and we asked her to share a little about her experience and how that went for her, and then how she feels about the course development in general. So I'm going to screen share.
So my name is Wendy Martell. I am a term assistant professor in the linguistics program at UAF, University of Alaska Fairbanks. This is my 4th year here at UAF, and I am currently developing a distance course for Linguistics 101, the nature of language. We are going to be delivering it via distance through e-learning here at UAF. So I'm in the process of developing the course. It's set to be ready in the spring of 2016. I'm developing it now. I have been developing it for the past several months now, and I've really enjoyed the process of developing it over the course of a couple of months before the spring semester starts, because delivering material via distance versus face-to-face is very, very different. And it's, for me personally, it takes a lot of time to process how to do that, how I would present the material via distance versus face-to-face. So the past few months I've been thinking about ways in which to still be creative as well as promoting collaboration through a distance class. And it's just taken quite a bit of time to process that and figure out how to do that. And the e-learning staff have been fantastic in giving me ideas on how to incorporate some of the things that I've wanted to do. Also, what I've learned over the past few months is that e-learning has a lot of resources available, and it's taken me quite a bit of time to first figure out what those resources are, as well as how to use those resources in my distance classroom. So it's been a really rewarding and fun and challenging process to deliver this, or to get this course delivered in the spring, and to figure out how to do that.
Okay, great. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if, after going through this process for your online class, if this changed anything in how you prepared for your face-to-face class.
Oh, that's interesting, because yeah, I think in a sense I really haven't thought about it, but now that I'm thinking about it now, I think that quite possibly the next time that I do teach this class face-to-face, I might do a few things slightly different. I might pepper the class with more activities throughout the class. I used to save all the activities for the end of class. We would go over material and then do activities at the end of class. Instead, I might do less lecturing throughout the face-to-face meeting, or having shorter lecture periods with more activities peppered in, because that's the one thing about the delivery model. The screencasts that I'm developing are quite short, and I didn't want to have like 40-minute screencasts. I wanted to less than 10 minutes maximum, and I think that would help the students also to process the material as well, instead of having a lot of material introduced in a lecture and then doing activities to reinforce that material, to reinforce it throughout. And I think that this process of developing the class via distance has kind of put me in that direction.
That's a nice design change. Great.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, before you started the development process, did you have any concerns that you weren't quite sure about? And then once you started developing, if those kind of concerns if they changed, or how that went for you?
Yeah, my biggest concern was collaboration. I like having collaboration and group work in the classes that I teach face-to-face. And the last time I taught 101 in a face-to-face setting, I really increased the level of collaboration and group work to the point where they were taking exams in groups and figuring out, doing problem solving. Part of the exam was doing problem solving and figuring things out as a group. And I was concerned about how I could do that in a distance class. And I think I'm working with Sean and Tina, and one of the things that we're kind of throwing around and what I'm leaning towards is having them during exam sessions logging onto Blackboard Collaborate and putting them into rooms, into little groups, and I can float around the rooms and give them the option to work with their classmates on certain problems like exams and other problem solving activities. Yeah.
Nice, great.
This is all good, Wendy. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, just I'm really glad you guys are here. You guys are really supportive and very, very helpful. You have a lot of wonderful resources available, and going through the I teach and then going through the whole process of developing a class via distance. It's really challenging and it's given me a new way of looking at things, and I'm looking at my material in a new way, and it's pretty exciting. And I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the actual implementation of the class. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. I really appreciate your time here.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me.
So she attended March I Teach, and almost immediately after that contacted us because she was thinking about doing an online version of the Linguistics 101. And even before it was sort of confirmed that she would be able to deliver the course that way, she began working with us. And then as soon as it was confirmed it would be on the schedule, then then they had already sort of started in the pre-planning. So she's actually been working since March. She has a developed plan, and she's working with 2 other instructional designers to help create the content and put it all together. So by spring, by the middle of January, she'll be all ready to go, and we'll be able to tweak things as she goes along, and customize things to who her students are, although she probably already knows who they are. But she has the bulk already created and already developed, so she can really concentrate on the interactions that she has with the students and then their interests, and then giving really good feedback. And Skip, I think that is definitely one of the benefits that you have seen in your pre-building.
Yeah, Wendy mentioned a really important thing, and you just did too, and that is that it always struck me that the most important part of having a class wasn't me teaching it; it was everybody talking about things, and it was being able to bring up issues and sort of problem solve and create your own little learning groups. And class time, I think, is pretty well used for that. Online, obviously, you don't have that. And so the need to have some kind of back channel, I think, is just really critical for an online course. And it really does bring that best element of a classroom, I think, into an online setting. In my digital storytelling course, I use Google Communities for that purpose. Those are private. Those are by invitation only to the people that are in that course. They're not open to the world because I want things to be discussed freely and openly and talk about whatever you need to talk about, right up until anything that's personal enough that needs to be emailed to me, but everything else goes on there. Because in a classroom, the nice thing about people asking questions and having them answered is that, first of all, everybody hears the question, and then everybody hears the answer, and it doesn't need to be me answering it all the time. In an online setting, unless you're in a synchronous mode, somehow you don't get that. But a back channel allows that sort of way of communicating. And so if someone asks a question that's relevant to an assignment, it's probably the case that that answer and that question are relevant to everybody else in the course as well. So Google Communities is a really good way to facilitate that. And it's so easy to integrate it into the Google Sites um, foundation for your course, as is any other kind of Google document. I mean, my syllabus is just as easy to update every year. I just go change a date or two. It's a Google Doc, and then I upload it. I embed it in my website, and that makes that part really simple too. So it takes all the administrative work out of the process, and it really streamlines, I think, the thinking process about what's working or what's not working in a course, and allowing me to build that as the semester goes on. When we run into a snag, or we find some better resource, or something else externally changes that I need to react to, instead of trying to cram all that in the beginning of the semester, I can do it all along as we're moving through the course.
Right. That's a really great benefit. I'm glad that you brought up the Google Docs aspect, because we definitely have been seeing the benefit of that. And like you say, you fix a few dates, and if you do some revisions, it's just all there, and it saves you from having to create a new PDF and upload a new PDF, or it's that whole revision control thing is taken care of for you. So that's excellent.
Actually, revision control is an interesting thing too, because you can screw things up and get back to where you were pretty easily. Not that I ever have, but
Right. So it was fun talking with Wendy, and obviously we appreciate that she appreciates our support, but from the instructional design standpoint, we also appreciate her wanting to start early instead of at the end of the semester or the beginning of the semester, because we just can't. You just can't do any quality development when you're pressed for time, and haven't given things a lot of thought. So we're all for that, for sure. So talking about the development process, I was going to just kind of show what that looked like. So I'm going to do a little screen sharing here. This is it. Oh, on the wrong slide, though. So we were thinking about just practical planning and trying to put a time on different elements. And it's really hard to think of course development as really linear, because it's not. It's a developing process. But so I tried not to make it linear, although it's a line, isn't it? But I tried to just kind of pick out different elements of what you need to do to create a course, and attach some hours to it. So we have, starting out with pre-planning and methods and goals, hours for creating a syllabus, And this is based on a new course that you might have. Calendar building, which continues to flesh out the elements of a syllabus. Maybe the structure, like Skip showed in his Google Site class, he had it sort of set up by different subject areas or themes. You might choose to do a weekly module structure. Please don't do a chapter structure, because it's not about the book, is it? It's about you and a course. It's not about teaching from a book. Content can be one of the big time sucks. It's where you're spending a lot of your time creating really good content, either yourself or finding a contact that you want to share with others. Activities and assessments, of course, those all want to refer back to your learning goals and methods. Building in the interactions. And then one thing that that e-learning can certainly help with is the student resources, or things that will help your students be successful in the class, like learning different tools, having access to tutorial services, or tutoring services, things about identifying how they can really be successful in the class. So those should certainly be something that you're incorporating in your course design. And I've tried to create a little mind map here, and I know this is really small, but just trying to flesh out individual things that you might want to think about, or questions you might need to ask yourself as you're going through the process. So we'll share this link with you so you can take a better look, and it's going to be ever evolving as we think about what that development cycle looks like. So. We also wanted to talk about some of the practical ideas about your planning and things that you might want to think about. So if you're revising a course, if you want to revise a course, you might not be able to make all the changes that you want at one time. You might need to scaffold those as you're working along, especially if you haven't delivered the course very often. So you want to prioritize the revisions that you might want to make, or you might become overwhelmed with making too many, and it could be frustrating. You also want to make sure that you are creating a rational and realistic schedule for yourself. So, backtrack from the start of the semester and see how early you need to start to be making those changes, or thinking about the changes. Also, you might want to think about where students have gotten stuck before, and what you might be able to create or change to help them have a better understanding and be more successful. We've also had instructors who have taught a course face-to-face and are moving it to the online environment, and so they've talked to their face-to-face students about elements that were confusing, or they needed more time with, or maybe things that they they had expected to get out of the course but hadn't. So that would be a good time to be able to implement and add some of those things in. And then, of course, when you have made your revisions, to make sure you've reviewed your syllabus and your schedule so that everything is all in line again. And we have a couple other resources. We have a teaching tip live about simple semester checklist. So it just goes through some elements that you might want to think about on a semester basis, just the routine things that you will need to update. And we also have created a semester form where you can actually enter some data, and e-learning staff is looking at the back end of this, but it also gives you some ideas about things that you might need to update as you move from one semester to the other. Any thoughts about any of those?
So while we're waiting, sorry, I have a little bit of feedback here. I was just going to invite the viewers, if you have any questions, again, you can submit your questions using the Q&A feature on the event page on the UAF e-learning website, or Google Plus community page.
So I just like forgot the most important thing, and that is you need to relax and make sure you have some unplugged time so that these ideas can all gel in your head, and you need your contemplation time, whether it's with your feet up on your desk or taking a walk. You need to make sure you give some time for all these thoughts and ideas to gel, and it's easier to come up with a plan and be productive if you have a clear idea in mind. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
I'd suggest too, and it's to the extent that you can, and obviously on Blackboard you can't very well, but get yourself out there. Put stuff in where people can see it, announce it. You get a lot of interaction with other people, some students and some instructors, which is obviously both perspectives are really good. Sort of maintain an active presence out there. Make as much of your stuff public as you possibly can so that people can see it and interact with you. It just really, you get a lot of good ideas that way. And that, to me, that's another advantage of using a website as the basis of your course instead of Blackboard. You can't do that in Blackboard. A good example is the digital storytelling class. We use the text that we use is written by Brian Alexander, and he'll come online with us and interact with us on our website all the time and ask us questions, and we can ask him questions. And that's just something you can't add Brian Alexander to your Blackboard course and do that. So that's one of those things that happen during the semester that you plan for them happening, not specifically, but you plan for the possibility of them happening. So where, for example, I've got, I don't know, 8 or 10 different little videos about how you create augmented reality with Aurasma. I'm sure that there are going to be 5 or 6 more videos I'm going to add that semester because people ask some very specific question, and the best way for me to get that out there is to just create a little quick 5-minute video and answer their question. That same question doesn't come up all the time, so it doesn't necessarily make it into the fabric of the course. It may or it may not, but that gives me that kind of time to respond to those questions when they come up, since all my other stuff's already done before we get started.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a few minutes, if it's okay with you guys, and just share some resources that the faculty here at UAF have available if they're interested in getting started early on their courses. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share again. And there's 5 or 6 things that I want to mention. So we start with I Teach You. And this is a site that the instructional designers at UAF eLearning have been working on and putting together for a few years now. So we put resources together and make them available on this site, and they range anywhere from topics on course development to learning a specific tool and the skills involved with that tool and how you might apply that tool in your class and with your students, and personally if you're just interested in trying something new to help you manage your time a little bit better. I Teach You is also a place where we put faculty perspective articles, so faculty that we work with who end up implementing something in their course that they want to share with other faculty members on campus. We invite them to come and share their experience on I Teach You. So those articles are available on this website as well. And you can see the URL is there on the screen if you're interested in checking that out. We also have an owner's manual, and this owner's manual, for me, and Heidi might have a different perspective on this, for me this is the Cliff's Notes of I Teach You. So as a faculty member, if you're starting with a course development and it's the first time you've taught online, or if you have taught before but you just want to have some things fresh in your mind, this owner's manual is a really great place to get started. It just, it walks you through getting started, and it walks you through thinking about your syllabus and thinking about objectives and activities that you can do in your course. There's really a lot that's in here, and the information that's linked from the owner's manual goes into more deep coverage of the topics on the owner's manual itself. So we highly recommend that if you're curious, please check this resource out. At UAF eLearning, we also, for all faculty at UAF, we offer consultation time. So if you are curious about what we do here, we invite you to come down, or if you are interested in just brainstorming some new ideas for your class, or you have a question about a particular mechanism that maybe you'd like to see operate a little bit more smoothly, we're very open and inviting to anybody who wants to come down and have these conversations. We get really excited too if you have a really big idea for your class but you're not sure how to make that happen. These are the things that we really, really have fun with, so we'd love to brainstorm about those ideas that you have as well. So the consultation time is for everybody here at UAF. You can just contact us and we can schedule a time for you to come down, or we can come to where you are and get started. We also facilitate faculty on tap sessions, and that's faculty on teaching and pedagogy, and these sessions are really more on demand. So, and UAF eLearning ends up being more of a facilitator in this context. If you want to either brainstorm or have a problem-solving session, or you have a question about how something might be done differently in your course, or even if you want to hear how other people are doing things in their courses, you can contact us and say you're interested in putting together an on-tap session. And what we'll do is we'll help market this event. We'll help coordinate the place and the time, and we also provide food and drinks as lunch for the on-tap session and the participants that join. So it's exciting to hear what other people are doing on campus, and you may have an idea in your head and you're not sure how to implement it. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel if somebody else is already doing it. So putting out some feelers and seeing if anybody else is interested in having the same conversation that you're interested in having, I think is a really great opportunity just to get people sharing. So that's available. We have two more. We also, here we have open labs, and these are regularly scheduled times, and I believe I should have double-checked these times. Heidi, you might give me a hand here. The open labs are from, let me see.
Tuesdays from 10 to 4, and on Friday from 10 to noon. And during peak times, we'll be adding more sessions, and at the beginning of like the week before classes start, we'll probably have them like almost all day.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But you shouldn't need that, right? Because you have pre-built and revised your course already.
But just so people know that they're available, and they're usually not topic driven. So we just schedule a time and we make ourselves available. So if you have a question or if you're curious about exploring something new, come on down and join us. And then finally, because that's a lot that I just covered here, finally we've put together a faculty development calendar. And this is a Google Calendar, and we're trying to capture all of the events that we know are scheduled for you as faculty and the instructors as well on the UAF campus. And things that you're able to join if you have time available. So you can follow the link that's down here in the corner to access this calendar, and you can add it to your own Google Calendar so you'll have it in that view whenever you check your calendar. If you're not sure how to add a calendar to your calendar view, come down for an open lab and we'll show you how. All right, so those are the opportunities that faculty have available here on campus, and that's, there are a few more that I haven't covered. Maybe Skip and Heidi, if you have a couple of other things that you want to add in here off the top of your head, please feel free to.
I
Those are
think,
the big.
yeah, I think there are a lot of things that can go wrong with your class that you made at the beginning of the semester. So having things, being prepared for that can really help with that stress level. I mean, the bookstore could have been given the wrong information on the book, and you have built a course based on one edition and the bookstore has another edition. Bookstore and students. That has happened, unfortunately. You might need to be more conscientious and make accommodations for accessibility. And if you have your course prepared in advance, then you can make sure that all that is taken care of. You might be relying on like guest speakers, and they have a snafu, and then you're left scrambling, and you might have to change the emphasis of where you want the course to go. And if you're able to prepare that in advance, then you're assured that you have it ready to go. And then, like Skip said, there's always software updates that you need to keep aware of and link rot. And hopefully,
Most of the resources I use are for text and otherwise are online, and they're obviously listed, on the assignment pages for that particular assignment. And they kind of die and wither sometimes as well. And that's actually another thing about having that stuff out there and planning ahead enough, because as that happens, you can go to the next semester's course and fix it before it happens again the next semester. And students are pretty quick to point that out. If they click on a link and it doesn't work, they'll let you know pretty quickly that. So I don't find that I have to go back and police it so much as the students will find it, and that does save me a lot of time.
Yeah, excellent. Link rot, yeah, that got me this year too. I had one of Mozilla's tools ended up being unsupported for some of the materials that I put together, so I had to go back and rebuild them. It happened in the middle of the semester, so pre-planning helped me save a little bit of time where I wasn't spending so much time doing other things. It gave me the opportunity to fix the things that needed attention. I've also found before the semester begins, I'll have students contact me that are just curious about the content of the course and the assignments, or whether or not they think they'll have time to complete the course successfully. And because things are built ahead of time, I just direct them to the site. I have my course materials up on a WordPress site, and I give them the URL and I say, take a look and see if this is going to fit into your schedule for the spring or fall semester, whichever it happens to be. And they seem to appreciate that.
I had this conversation just about a week ago with one of my students, my 431 students, who had sort of discovered augmented reality and was real interested in, are there any courses that cover this? I said, well, I'm doing the digital storytelling course, which has a section on that. And she didn't have time to take a course. I said, well, the course is up, just go use the stuff, and go and use the videos and learn it yourself. You don't need to be in the course to do that. And it's not like I lost a student. She wasn't going to be able to take the course anyway. So it was nice having that already there for her and updated and ready to go.
Yeah.
We've also, hopefully we'll continue to have this problem, but we found that in certain courses, the enrollment expectation was far greater than what they thought. So we had to quickly create new sections of courses. And if the course hadn't been pre-built, that would have been a real struggle for a new instructor or a TA who had to come in the last minute. And it would have been a disadvantage for all the students as well as stressful for the TA. So.
Yeah, that actually happened when I left Alaska last year. There was an face-to-face course that is a required course for undergraduate students in the School of Ed that I've taught for years, and I had to hand it off to somebody else. Well, the next semester's class is already built by the time I did that, so it was a real easy transition for them to And because with a Google site, you can transfer ownership too. So I just made the new instructor the owner of the site and just let them go.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, well, it doesn't seem like we have any questions from viewers at the moment. Before I put together quick comments, do you guys have any last thoughts?
Well, I'd like to thank Skip for joining us, and then also thank Wendy for recording with us earlier. So it's always really great to hear from faculty.
Yeah.
Just one, and it's not really apropos to planning ahead or not, but it's the idea that one of the problems I have with Blackboard is it's really oriented toward teaching. It's instructor oriented. It's what you're going to convey to students. And I'm have an education background. I'm much more inclined to look at learning instead of teaching. And so it's not so much what I want to do, it's what I want the students to do. And that's why I think providing learning opportunities through a website that you can constantly update and maintain over time is a lot more powerful to me, face-to-face or online, than the structure that Blackboard provides. And I'll get off that soapbox in a second, but it is worth thinking about. I mean, if you focus on the learning process and not the teaching process, things come out differently on the other end.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. Okay. Well, thanks, Skip and Heidi, for joining us, and for Wendy as well for recording before she had to get on her flight today. I want to remind viewers that our next Teaching Tip Live is December 11th, and that's going to be on lab-based learning experiences online. So if that's a topic you're interested in, be sure to join us on 11 December. It'll again be from 1 to 2 p.m. And that's what we have for today. Thanks to everybody for joining.
Thanks.